Hey guys, today I want to talk about VDIGX and I want to see how much fund we would need to be able to receive about $1,000 in dividends a month or $100,000 a year. Now this is kind of a fund that not many people might know about, but it has been around a long time. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I had a comment, someone asking if I could model VDIGX in my spare time. I'm going to go ahead and try to model VDIGX as I have a lot of my other funds. And you can check out my channel. I have a playlist of funds that I analyze to see how much of the fund I need to be able to get $1,000 a month in dividends. So I have actually never heard of this fund before, but we will go ahead and go through my single fund investing calculator and see what we would have in the long term with VDIGX with their current dividend yield, share price, and then we'll go over to Vanguard's website and determine since inception what % annual growth have they received. So we are over here on Seeking Alpha's page for VDIGX. We're going to grab a few points here. This is Vanguard's Dividend Growth Fund. They're sitting at about $39 per share with a dividend yield of 1.46. The expense ratio is 0.26 and their 1-year growth has been 18.9. Their cumulative 5-year has been 67. And their cumulative 10-year has been 154. Let's go ahead over to Yahoo Finance's page for the same fund and just confirm these numbers because they do fluctuate a little bit. So we just kind of want to get a happy medium for this. So for Vanguard's Dividend Growth Fund, again, $39 per share. The yield is 1.51%, which is a little bit higher than 1.46, but we'll talk about this. And then the expense ratio is 0.26. So we put all that information into the calculator, 39.22, dividend yield of 1.46, expense ratio of 0.26. But what we're looking at here is how much dividend they pay per year. But you know what? This number is actually going to change, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So now let's go over to Vanguard's website and see what their growth has been since inception of the fund. Over on Vanguard's website, we go to the Price and Performance tab for VDIGX. Scroll down here, and we see since inception, it's been about 8 to 9%, closer to 7.5% after taxes and after the sale of their fund shares. So since inception of since 1992, it's been about 7.38% after all the books are closed, when it's all said and done. But if you look in the most recent years here, it's been 13.5, 3 years has been 10.8, 5 years has been 11.4. The past 10 years has actually been close to 12.05. So if we want to be conservative, we could do 7%. If we wanted to have a little bit more expectation for VDIGX, we could put 12% in that growth number. But I would like to show you this. Let's head over to Vanguard's distribution page or dividend page for VDIGX, and you can see their dividend has actually been rather sporadic. So they were paying a semi-annual dividend, but it looks like they also paid at the end of the year. It looks like they also paid another dividend. So if we take a look at their history here, it looks like they were paying a semi-annual dividend and then they switched over to a quarter. And then if we take a look at this graph right here, the price and dividend history, we see for 2021, now I don't like how they represented this. This number here, $2.13, means the entire year of 2021. So everything going forward up until 2022. And then in 2020, they paid 93 cents total for their dividends. January 1st, 2020, all the way to December 31st, 2020 was 93 cents. In 2019, they paid out $1.43. In 2018, they paid $2.16. And then in 2017, it was $1.36. So it looks like their low here was in 2020 at 93 cents, and their high was $2.13 in 2021. So we're going to actually maybe change around the dividend rate to be able to achieve close to $2 in dividends, and then we'll see what that gets us. If we go over to Vanguard's distribution tab for VDIGX, we see this thing here. In 2021, it looks like they paid out something called an ST or an LT cap gain. ST and LT mean short-term and long-term capital gain. That begs the question, what does that mean? In an ETF, a capital gains distribution is a payment by a mutual fund or an exchange traded fund of a portion of the proceeds from the fund's sales of stocks and other assets from within its portfolio, if it is the investor's proportional share of the proceeds from the fund's transactions. So what does that mean? Well, after doing a little bit of investigation, I took a look at their fund holdings and their turnover rate, and VDIGX turns over their funds about 15% throughout the year. And we take a look at their holdings, they only have 48 holdings. So it looks like possibly at the end of each quarter, or at the end of each biannual, or at the end of each year, they sell a large portion of their shares. They take maybe a bunch of the holdings out and bring some more in, depending on as they rebalance the fund, and then you get paid a dividend for any profits that they made on those shares. So let's go back over to the calculator. So if you remember, the dividend yield, the original dividend yield was 1.46, but let's try to change that to get this closer to $2. Remember, they gave that capital gains distribution. So if we change it closer to $2, we're sitting around a 5.1% dividend yield. So let's go ahead and use those numbers and expect their dividend payout to be closer to $2 per year. When we look, if you recall, we looked at Vanguard's website to be able to determine since inception what has their growth been. After taxes, if you remember, it was closer to 7%. Within the past 10 years, we're looking closer to 12%. So let's go ahead and find the middle, and let's go 9.5. I'm not sure if that's the middle or not. It might be probably closer to 10. So let's go 10%. So if you had a $10,000 investment with a 10% growth at a $2 annual dividend for VDIGX, you would be looking at $11,500 after 1 year, and then $41,600 after 10 years. And if you bought this much right here of VDIGX, this is how much dividend it would pay you every single year. So at $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year, you would need close to 235,000 VDIGX. Let's go over to my other fund versus fund calculator and put these numbers in here and compare VDIGX with the popular VOO. It's Vanguard's S&P 500 fund. I already put all of the numbers in here for VOO. Change this back to quarterly. It doesn't really change much. If you recall, we changed this dividend yield to 5.1%, and we'll see how VDIGX compares to VOO with this $2 annual dividend. If you go over to Vanguard's website for VOO and check their performance page, their annual growth rate, they're on the low end, it's 15%. For VDIGX, let's say it was on the higher end, it was close to 12%. If you had a $10,000 investment, the blue line, VDIGX, would outperform VOO. But however, to be fair to VOO, if you're on the high end for VDIGX, you're probably going to be on the high end for VOO. We would change VOO to 20%, then it would completely outperform VDIGX. So I'll leave it up to you what fund you want to invest in, VOO or VDIGX. Personally, I think I'll probably stick with VOO. If you guys like that video, do all that good stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.